Good morning, Luke. Here's the machine, the Breville Barista Express BES870 in silver. As you saw in the photos, it's in pretty good condition. It is a used machine, so it does have the standard wear and tear as you'd expect. It's mainly around the front. There's a few dents, very small dents, some light scratches, and a few light scratches around the back as well. Nothing too major, honestly. For the age, this is very clean, I would say. But what's important is what's on the inside, and it's fully functional on the inside. I've just finished doing the service on this one. It needed a general clean, a solenoid clean, and a grinder realignment. I've checked everything and it seems to be in top condition. And to prove it, I'm going to be making a coffee on it this morning. So I'll be making a double shot of latte, of coffee and milk. So this will make it into a latte. And yeah, hopefully I'll be able to teach you how to use the machine and a few tips and tricks along the way. So when you first turn it on, it takes about a minute to turn on and reach temperature. It's been on for about 2 minutes, so it's ready to go. When the lights go off, that means it's ready to make a coffee. But that means the boiler is hot, but doesn't necessarily mean that your portafilter is hot, your group head, and obviously your cups, they might not be hot. So what you can do to warm it up, two things. Either wait 10 or 20 minutes for those things to reach temperature so you can place your cups over here to get warm. This does get warm, the top plate. Your portafilter and your group head both will be quite hot by the 10 or 20 minute mark. So that's one way. The other way is to do a blank shot. So without any coffee in the handle is empty. I'm going to run a double shot of water, of hot water into the machine, or through the machine into the cup. So I'm going to press the double button. This will warm up all the components that I've mentioned, and also it sort of acts like a cleanse, so it'll rinse any coffee grounds and oils that are stuck in the machine, which is pretty good. You can do that once or twice. I'll do it twice, this time using the single button to show you what that is. The buttons, the single and double, those are programmable. You can make them into any length you'd like. I'll teach you how to do that later. In the meantime, I'm just filling my milk jug halfway with cold milk from the fridge. Right, so the water comes out nice and clean. I've already done the back flush twice actually, so it's very clean. Okay. When you're done with the blank shot, take out the portafilter and dry it. It'll have some water left on it. Just give it a wipe with a tissue or a towel. Because when you grind the coffee, you want the portafilter to be dry to prevent clumping of the coffee. Where's my scale? So this is the double basket. It takes about 18 grams of coffee. So I'm going to aim to put 18 grams into the basket. Your machine also comes with the other baskets, the single, I believe. Yeah, single basket cleaning tools, the dual wall baskets. The dual wall baskets are pretty much for pre-ground coffee or for beginners. So if you're really a beginner, you can use the single wall baskets to make your life easy. Sorry, you can use the dual wall baskets to make your life easy. And when you feel comfortable with the grinder, you can then upgrade or start using the single wall to get slightly better coffee, or noticeably better coffee, really. Okay. Grind size at the moment is at number 5. I'm using a freshly opened bag of beans. It's important to use fresh beans, otherwise this process of getting your shots right will be much more difficult with very cheap or very stale beans. Grind size number 5, I'm going to put this filter size on double. I'm going to put the grind amount at about 12 o'clock. And I'm just going to purge because I've recently changed beans. So a purge is when you just grind and get rid of the old grinds. So just a couple seconds to get rid of that coffee that's stuck up there. Now when I'm grinding, it's going to be a fresh batch. may not spill. In this case, it looks like it did not, which is good. I'm going to take it out slowly. And I'm going to measure, see how much we got. This is 16 and a half. So I reckon we can put a gram more at least. So this tells me that 12 o'clock is not enough coffee, so I'm going to put it at 13 o'clock, sorry, 1 o'clock. So just a bit to the right. This should, when you do this on an empty portafilter, it should give you about 17 and a half grams. But you'll have to experiment because different beans grind different rates. And the same applies for the grind size. Different grind sizes will give you different amounts of coffee. So just not to make this more complicated than it needs to, put these settings into a setting that gives you 18 grams of coffee. And when you make the coffee, it gives you the right pressure. And I'll be talking about that later. If you ever feel overwhelmed about the dosing part, you can always use the razor tool. The razor tool is this flat rectangular thing that Breville includes with the machine. It's included in this sale as well. This razor tool will actually help you if you're a beginner. You just put more coffee than you need, tamp it down, and then scrape off the excess. That way you can always be sure that you have the correct height of coffee and the correct amount of coffee. I don't like to use it just because it's a bit wasteful and it makes quite a mess. I just tell people to get the grinder settings right from the first time. So your life becomes easy. But anyway, when you're done, you'll notice two things. You'll notice that before I tamp the coffee, it's already flush with the top part. So I flattened it with my palm. I didn't press, I just flattened it with my palm. And it sort of ends at the top edge of the basket. And then when you go to tamp it, you want to make sure you're tamping on a flat area. So don't tamp it when it's sort of like a little hill. You're going to press nice and firm. Be sure to put enough pressure, even pressure all across the tamper. You don't want it to be wonky or weird. After I've tamped, you'll notice that I can't go any deeper than this silver part. So this silver part is sort of like a guide. If you have the correct amount of coffee, you just look at the tamper. So let's say you don't want to use a scale or you don't have a scale. You can just put the coffee, tamp, and check the depth of the tamper. If it's this deep, as deep as the silver part, then you're doing the right thing and you have the correct amount of coffee. In this case, 17.8 grams of coffee. I'm going to keep it there. It looks nice and clean. Make sure it's flat. And then clean the edges before you lock it in. And then lock it in. So I'll keep it in the middle. You can go all the way to the right, but I don't think it needs to do that to get a good seal. Sort of in the middle should be good enough. Over time you may need to push it a bit more to the right just to get a better seal. Just have a feel for it, don't force it. And yeah, so here's the hot water tap. If you push this dial away from you, it'll give you clean hot water straight from the boiler. This is useful for making Americanos, long black coffees, tea. In my case, I like to use it either to warm up my cups if I'm making a lot of coffees, or to help me dissolve my sugar. I like to add sugar to my coffee, so if I add the sugar without the hot water, it doesn't really dissolve as easy. But when I add a touch of hot water, it actually sort of melts when the espresso comes down. That's done. I'm going to turn on my scale and make sure to reset. And now I'm going to make the coffee. You want to pay attention to a few things when you make your coffee. The pressure, you want the pressure to be up here around 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock. And the flow, you want it to be nice and smooth, symmetrical, not too fast, not too slow. So I'm going to assume you're using fresh beans. I'm going to assume you put 18 grams of coffee in the basket, more or less. And I'm going to assume you're tamping correctly. If you do all these correctly, the only variable you change is the grind size. This is the only variable that will affect the speed of the coffee. If my coffee comes out too slowly, that means that my grind size is too fine. And I need to make it larger to make the water go through. If my grind size is, if my coffee comes out way too quick, that means my grind size is too large. So I'm going to make it smaller to make the coffee go slower. How do you know if it's going the right speed or not? Weight. It's by weight. So we put in 18 grams of coffee. We want to get double what we put in, so 36. So I want 36 grams of espresso in this cup. If you're a visual person, it's sort of about up to here. You can eyeball this and still get a very good coffee. You don't have to follow the numbers. You don't have to get a scale. You just have to get close enough to the ratio that I'm using, a 2-to-1 ratio, to get a decent coffee. And of course, it's all subjective taste, so you can do whatever you feel tastes best. If I get the 36 grams in 20 to 30 seconds, sweet, that's perfect. If it takes less than 20 seconds, from the button press that is, less than 20 seconds, that means it's too quick. More than 30 seconds, that's too slow. So that's how I'm going to judge. So I'm going to make the coffee now on grind size number 5. Like I said, about 18 grams of coffee in the basket, tamped correctly. And the only variable left is the speed, so we'll see how quick it is. I'm going to program it to give you the correct amount of coffee. So to do that, you press program, then the button you want to program. I'm also going to time it. And then now it's programming in programming mode. I'm going to stop it when I feel it. I'm happy with the volume, and it's going to remember that volume. So about 12 o'clock pressure, slightly quicker than I was hoping, but it still looks decent. So I'm going to stop it right there. I think that's about 35 to 40 grams. That took 20 seconds from the button press. It doesn't look too bad, honestly. This is exactly 40 grams, so let me show you. Slightly more than I was hoping for. I was hoping for about 36. It still doesn't really matter because it looks good, and I think it's going to taste good as well. So what does this tell me? So we're on the edge of too quick. So grind size number 5 is a touch too quick. So if I put it on grind size number 4, which I'll do for you now, you want to do it this way. So you want to grind, then change the grind size, then stop grinding. Or maybe actually keep it running before you stop it to get rid of the old grind size. Reason being, you don't want to make it into a finer grind size without it grinding, because the burrs will sort of crush each other and it's not good for the mechanism. Then I'm going to let it run for another 2 seconds just to get rid of the old grind size. Now it should give you grind size number 4. I'm going to try whatever I just tried again. I'm going to keep the settings. 40 grams is good enough, I would say. Look at it, it looks pretty good. It's got some good crema, and the flow is nice and symmetrical. So I was doing something right there. But yeah, it's a touch too quick. So to slow it down, I've put it on grind size number 4. I'll let you try that again at your own time. Obviously, using different beans, you might need to change the grind sizes. I just want you to know that you should change this only one number at a time, and then try, so you don't damage your machine or choke it with a very fine grind size. Yeah, try it again. See how long it takes to get that 40 gram dose. If it takes 25 seconds or 30 seconds, perfect. And of course, let me know if you're having trouble dialing in your machine. I'm going to take out the pour filter before I start steaming my milk. So it knocks off very easily into the knock box. I've got a knock box for sale if you're interested, just let me know. And then I'm going to rinse. Before I leave the machine, I want to make sure it's nice and clean. Run a blank shot this time just to rinse the shower and the pour filter. Perfect. Maybe if you're feeling a bit generous, after your shots, grab a tissue and wipe the shower screen and the seal, so the rubber seal on the edge. Give it a wipe just to get rid of, like you see, there's always going to be a bit of ground coffee, so just to prevent it build up of this ground coffee and any oils, make sure you give it a wipe, either daily or every other day, just to be extra nice to your machine. Yeah, and you can put it just loosely, not all the way, just loosely, so that next time you turn it on, it stays there and it stays nice and hot. You don't need to force it all the way to the right when you're not making a coffee. So just a bit, just like that. Be gentle with the seal. Okay, coffee is done. I'm not going to let it sit out for too long. I'm going to start steaming the milk now. Turn on the steamer, wait about 10-15 seconds until you start hearing the pump. That's when the steam is probably ready. Like I said, halfway with milk, cold milk from the fridge. I'm using full cream cow's milk. The technique you want to use is at an angle. I'm going to turn it off. At an angle, try to spin the milk in a vortex. Keep the tip close to the surface so that it injects air. This is the noise you want to be hearing, almost like a hissing noise. That means you're aerating the milk and giving it that smooth texture. Maybe about halfway before it gets really hot, raise the jug so you stop injecting the air. If you inject too much air, it becomes too bubbly for a latte, so it becomes more of a cappuccino. So I'm going to raise the jug, dunk the tip deeper into the milk so that it stops aerating it. Now it's just warming it up. I'm still going to keep spinning it in a vortex, like I said, to keep it mixed up. And then I'm going to stop when it's too hot to handle. I've got a thermometer, and the thermometer says about 60. 60 is about the perfect temperature. So you want to take it out, very important, grab a wet towel and wipe this straight away. After you wipe it, you want to give it a purge. So wipe it from all sides. Make sure you do this as soon as you can, because the more you delay this cleaning process, the harder it is. You don't want the milk to harden and clog the holes, or the hole really underneath, otherwise your steamer won't be working. And after you clean it, give it a purge, so just turn it on for a couple seconds, just to spurt any water, or sorry, spit out any milk. Give it a second. You can do this cleaning before you let the machine cool down. So when you turn it off for 5 seconds or more, it will actually cool down, and you'll see that with the lights turning on. Yeah, so it's really hot on the steaming mode, so to make a coffee it needs to cool down, so now it's cooled down. When the buttons are off, it's ready to go. Very smooth milk. I'm gonna knock it on the table just to break any air bubbles, and then I'm gonna swirl it around to mix it up. I'm gonna do this a few times until the surface is nice and smooth. Perfect. Very, very beautifully textured milk. It's quite thick as well, so you can practice and do some latte art down the line. I usually don't do latte art. I'm more of a taste kind of person. If it tastes good, I'm happy. But yeah, you can do very beautiful latte art. I'm sure you can search that up online. There's a lot of tutorials on how to do that. But yeah, I think you'll love the machine. I think you'll be able to do fantastic coffees on it. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate, and I'll see you soon. Thanks.